Hey Lions, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Lexi The Leo, and on this channel we do pick a cards, we talk about astrology and all things spirituality. So if you are interested in that, hit that subscribe button. Now in today's video we are carrying on with astrology, and the next planet in line is Saturn. Last month we talked about Jupiter, now we are talking all about the big dog Saturn. So what I'm going to be doing is talking a little bit about Saturn, and then I'm going to get through Saturn in the houses. Obviously we are now getting deeper into astrology now that we are talking about the outer planets, and the reason that I'm doing it through the houses, not in the signs, if you guys are new to astrology, because like I said, Saturn, just like Jupiter, is one of the outer planets, and it's more of a generational planet. Saturn stays in a particular sign for about 2.5 years. So when you look at your Saturn sign, for example, I have Saturn in Aries. A lot of people around my age will have Saturn in Aries, but when it comes to your house in Aries, which is what we're talking about today, this is going to be a more personal and accurate representation of what Saturn means for you guys. So Saturn takes around 28 to 30 years to make its whole entire run through the zodiac. So what is Saturn anyway? Saturn is ruled by Capricorn, and it is known as the planet of karma. It is known as the planet of hard work, and Saturn comes in to teach us lessons, to help us gain mastery in our lives in what particular area that we need to learn and that we chose to learn in this particular life. Now I've noticed in like newer astrology, people like to talk about Saturn like it's a bad planet, like it's this negative type of planet. It's not, it really is not, especially if you're into like going through experiences to gain wisdom and become a better person. It's not. We come here on life to learn lessons. So Saturn does just that. Saturn wants to see you become the best version of yourself. So whatever it is that you may be lacking in coming into this life, anything that it is that you feel that you need to gain more knowledge in, gain more wisdom in, Saturn will put you through these experiences to learn from. So Saturn is kind of like the father figure. It's where you learn discipline in your life, and where you learn to, in my eyes, I don't even see Saturn as like the disciplinary. I see Saturn as the teacher. I feel like Saturn teaches us. For me personally, Saturn is my favorite planet in like, out of all of the planets, I think other than the moon, I think Saturn is probably my favorite planet, because I absolutely love my Saturn placements. People like to say that my Saturn placement is a hard one. I don't think it is. I'm passing it with flying colours, because I love to be tested. I love to be challenged. I just love it. You know what? Because evidently this is the planet that helps you stand on your own 2 feet and overcome your deepest obstacles. And the thing is if you come to this video thinking that Saturn is bad and it's going to bring you all these dramatic experiences, I wanted to kind of debunk that. Yes, Saturn makes you work hard. Yes, Saturn brings lessons in your life and it restricts you in some type of way to get over it. But Saturn doesn't have to be bad if you learn the lessons it's teaching and work with it. So that's why I wanted to do this video today, because whatever house your Saturn is in, that is going to show the area that you are choosing to overcome. Because it has this energy of being cruel to be kind. It breaks you down to build you back up. So the reason that I was so excited to do Saturn, I mentioned in one of my Jupiter videos, I'm so excited to talk about Saturn. The reason I'm so excited to talk about it is because knowing your Saturn placement, knowing the house that your Saturn is in, is crucial for you guys to see what you're learning with, and it can really help you. When I realized what my Saturn house was in, I was like, okay, I know what I need to do now. I know what I need to do now. And I had this sense of peace. So just knowing that, you guys, can bring you so much peace. And that is why I'm so excited to bring this video to you guys today. So like I said, this is Saturn through all of the houses. We are looking at where you guys may be being restricted and where you are learning your hardest lessons. So if you guys do not know the house that your Saturn is in, I will have a link in the description box for you guys to go and follow and find out what house your Saturn is in. If you guys already know what house your Saturn is in, then that's great, because I have the timestamps in the description box and in the comment section down below. So I'm going to start with the video now. So I will see you guys at your timestamp. Okay, so if you click this timestamp, then you have Saturn in the first house. Now, having Saturn in the first house is the house of self. It's how we come across to other people. It's how we present ourselves to other people. So this means that you guys will be really developing who you are as a person and really learning about who you are as a person through other people, and just dealing with how you come across to other people. This particular placement has you throughout your life defining who you are as a person, defining your personality. So with that being said, you may find in your earlier years, or maybe through your life, you may suffer with depression or anxiety while you're working on coming out into the big world and expressing who you are. You may end up having problems with self-assertion, asserting yourself to other people. You may feel a little bit of guilt of doing that. You kind of have a kind of blurred sense of identity. It's like you know who you are, but then you question who you are. It can cause a lot of confusion for you. So you may be people that are very conservative. You may be people that are very responsible, very cautious with what you do. You don't want to be seen in a bad light. You might not want to be seen in a certain type of way. That can manifest with Saturn in the first house. And you guys may struggle with independence and responsibility. So you may want to put responsibilities onto other people. This can sometimes come in and manifest with this placement, but you'll have a hard time being the one in authority, the one that's in the firing line, you know what I mean? The one that's sorry guys, I was sitting on my leg and my leg's going numb. The one that's creating the ideas, the one that's coming forward to other people and putting your voice out there. You'll have trouble doing that and being that leader. This is where Saturn is helping you learn to overcome these obstacles. And it's like, with it being in the first house, you probably will have great instincts. You'll have kind of like great animal instincts. Like you'll want to do something. You'll think, oh, that would be a good idea. It's like you'd want to be impulsive. You'd have these ideas to go be impulsive, but then you stop and you question yourself. This is something that may hold you back in earlier stages of your life. You'll question yourself and kind of be cautious and stop yourself from aiming to be the best that you can be almost. And then you may look to friends and partners and family members for guidance in what you do in everyday life. It's almost like you don't trust your own mind to make your own decisions. You'll question a lot. So with that being said, what are you actually learning with Saturn in this house? You guys are learning self-mastery. You guys are learning to come out of your shell and be your authentic self. You've come here to learn, and you guys have come here to work through what it is that's stressing you out, what it is that's holding you back, and really speak it out. Tell people how you feel. Tell people what's going on in your mind. Tell people about your insecurities. It doesn't have to be all bottled in. You guys are learning to overcome these fears of asserting yourself and being yourself, because the thing is that this is the planet of like restricting. So it's like you guys are going to have a lot of caution, and this placement does not have to hold you back if you work with it. Is why I said learning what house your Saturn is in really helps, because I feel like with Saturn in the first house, it's like you're too cautious to go make a jump or a leap because you don't have a lot of belief in yourself. And Saturn is teaching you guys to look and then leap instead of not leaping at all. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, it's fine to be cautious. Obviously, that's like a good trait to be cautious. You don't want to be too impulsive, which is normally what like first house energy is like. Maybe, you know, definitely be discerning, but don't not take the leap at all. You know what I mean? You have to believe in yourself. That's what life is about. And that's what Saturn is teaching you in this placement, because you guys want to be first. You guys want to work hard. You know what I mean? You want to excel. And this is Saturn teaching you guys that you can do that. Like, you can do that. It's okay, like, fine, be cautious, but don't hold yourself back. You're learning how to develop who you are and having that inner strength inward. This placement, you're literally working on building your personality up, your likes, your interests, who you are at a core level. You're going to spend a lot of time in your mind kind of deciphering who you are as a person. So you're going to be a very introspective person. You're going to be very attentive, and you're going to be very alert to what's going on. You know what I mean? You're going to be able to pick up a lot of what's going on around you. But you have this type of internal introspection where you internalize everything that you see. You'll really look deeply into it. You'll really look deeply into it and analyze that and take that information into yourself. But with that, it's like you'll observe rather than speak about it. It's like you're very much in your mind, and you'll observe a lot of energy, observe what is going on around you, and you'll have all these thoughts, but it's like you're too frightened, or not even frightened, but just like you question yourself whether you should say anything out loud, when You guys are probably very intelligent, you know what I mean? Especially if you have a lot going on up here and you're very introspective. You guys are going to be very intelligent, but you hold yourself back. And like I said, Saturn's teaching you guys, yes, be cautious, but don't hold yourself back with it. You're learning self-mastery and who you are. So you are learning as well, because this does tie into emotions, like learning how to express your emotions and actually tell people like how you feel, what's going on inside. You're learning to be comfortable in doing that and feeling like your emotions or your feelings or who you are is validation enough. So you guys are really here to strengthen your boundaries and your assertion, because obviously with this planet, if you guys kind of internalize a lot, you may not speak your boundaries. You may deal with a lot of people overstepping your boundaries and taking advantage of you. So you're learning to put these boundaries in and really speak up for what you believe in and speak for yourself and have that love for yourself. You're learning to have confidence in who you are as a person. So what Saturn's really teaching you guys to do is become a more authentic and self-confident person, to take that mask off and just enjoy life. So that is all I have for you guys, Saturn in the first house. I'm now going to move on to Saturn in the second house. Okay, so Saturn in the second house. Now, if you guys have Saturn in the second house, with Saturn being the planet of karma, this can indicate that you guys haven't learned the meaning of finances or even valued like material possessions in your past life or in your earlier lives. And so it's kind of here to make you learn the value of material possessions in this life. So let me speak a little bit about that so you guys can understand. The second house is all about security and finances. You may be somebody that aspires for wealth, but you're really learning to value it in all capacities. So you may be somebody that has this energy that you guys have to work to gain money and gain this material abundance. And you may be somebody, especially in your earlier life, like the more you attain, you're not happy, you're not satisfied with what you have. Whatever you get, instead of feeling grateful, it's like, okay, well, I need this now, I need this now, I need this now, you know what I mean? It's like never being grateful for what it is that you have. And the reason that you're learning this is when we are comfortable with what we have and we are grateful, we are putting an energy out that we are grateful, and then it can bring in a lot more manifestations, whereas you guys will always be seeking like the next best thing. So it's like you're putting a lot of your energy into maintaining wealth or maintaining some type of like finances or possessions, but you're missing the point that you're putting your worth into it, because the second house also rules like your self-worth. So it's like you're putting your worth into it, these finances, and gaining all these finances. But if that's being said, no matter how much money you get or how much you attain, it's never going to be enough, because there's no such thing as having all the money in the world. Like, numbers are infinite, you know what I mean? You can just keep getting more and more. So if you're putting your worth into that, you will never truly be satisfied. But obviously, depending on like the signs and the aspects as well, you guys, usually this will manifest as somebody who has insecurities when it comes to money and possessions, and may want to work to attain this and put a lot of their self-worth in this, and wanting to find acceptance through attaining everything that they could attain with the second house. So with this placement, what Saturn's really teaching you to do is value your hard-earned money on your own path. You know what I mean? Like, not everything has to be perfect. You're learning that not everything has to be perfect. You're not always going to have everything together, and you're going to be dealing with a lot of insecurities when it comes to money. Now, this can manifest in a number of ways. Again, like I said, guys, the natal chart is like so big and there's so much depth to it. This is just like a Saturn house placement, but usually just looking at this, it can manifest as somebody that maybe came from poverty, that didn't have a lot of money, and then is learning the true value of what money is, and kind of never feeling like the money that they have is enough, because that self-confidence is through that. Or it could be somebody that was even born into wealth, but they just don't understand the value. They keep wanting more and more, not realizing that it's actually their self-worth that is causing this insecurity. And the quote that I really want to talk about when I talk about the second house in Saturn, I remember writing this down back in, like, I think it was 2013, I think it might have been 2012, but I think it might have been 2013, when I was really getting into astrology. And I wrote this quote down that I found on the internet. And what was the quote called? The quote was, people overvalue what they are not and undervalue who they really are. Do you get what I mean when I'm saying this? Like, people will overvalue what they're not. Like, material possessions and putting their money in, like putting their worth into like money and what they can attain, but then they undervalue their true self and their true energy. And that's exactly what Saturn's teaching you guys. Like, your worth is not in money, your worth is not in how much you can attain, your worth is not in how everything can be perfect. Your worth is in you, and having that self-confidence in you. You determine your own worth. So if you're putting it in money, you're never going to find happiness, because it's like you can just keep getting money and money and money. You know what I mean? There's no limit. Your own self-worth and your confidence doesn't come from that and possessions. It comes from you, and that's what Saturn's actually teaching you in this lifetime. You might even be somebody that avoids risks when it comes to money. Like, you won't want to spend out because you kind of want to keep it all together. It reminds me of the Four of Pentacles in Tarot, where he holds his money together. That's the type of energy that it can sometimes manifest in, and Saturn's calling you guys to not be so restrictive when it comes to that. Because it's like, you know, like when people say you can attain all of this wealth, but when obviously we all leave Earth, we all ascend to another dimension, what are we going to do with it then? Like, it's nothing, you know what I mean? So it's like Saturn's kind of calling you guys to ease up a little bit. And I'm not saying Saturn's telling you to go spend your money, but Saturn's telling you to be less restrictive and not putting all your energy into like stockpiling and keeping all your money to yourself. Like, you're here to live life, you know what I mean? And your self-worth is not on these material things. Your self-worth is, it comes from you. Like I said, you determine your own self-worth, and you're learning that with Saturn in the second house. And the thing is that if you guys don't have a certain amount of money or have a certain type of like stability, that can then affect your self-worth. And the thing is that if it's affecting your self-worth, you're then putting out this energy that you're not good enough, you're not going to be able to attract abundance. Abundance is our birthright. We should all be living abundantly, you know what I mean? But it's like, if you're putting your worth in that and then you're feeling sad or low on yourself if you don't attain it, you're not going to be putting that energy out that you're abundant, you know what I mean? So there's like an energy, a funny energy in regards to finances and security with this placement. You're learning to be completely self-confident in who you are, and knowing that you don't have to be perfect, to love your imperfections, and learn to have a good relationship with money. So that is all I have for you, Saturn in the second house. I'm now going to move on to Saturn in the third house. Okay, so with Saturn in the third house, the third house obviously rules communication. So with that being said, with Saturn being in this house, you may find that you have some form of difficulty in communicating with others. You are really being called in this lifetime to master and develop your intellect and communicating with other people and getting your energy and your creativity out to other people. You guys may have passions for writing, speaking, and just communicating in general, but it's like you have a hard time getting it out to people, whether it's because of anxiety, anything to do with your speech. Maybe you guys were slow to start speaking as a child. And the thing is that when Saturn's in this placement, you guys are going to be very mentally hard on yourself. You're going to be very hard on yourself because you're really dealing with insecurities in this area. So you may be the type, especially earlier on in life, like you may shy away from like cashiers and just like teachers, like standing up in front of the class. Like, you're not going to like that. You're not going to be one of these people that just like, here I am. Like, you're not going to be like that. You might not even want to like talk to people. You may have like, you may be quite uncomfortable with people if they say something to you and you don't know them, like trying to speak to them. You may just have those type of issues earlier on in your life. And it may come across like in school, or maybe just in general, you have a hard time learning, or it may be that you learn very quickly, but you have a hard time communicating what you've learned and actually speaking it out and getting it out there to the world. And this is what you're being called to work on. So it may genuinely be that you have a lot of passions in this area of being able to speak or sing or do something where you can really be in the forefront and express who you are. Or you just may really want to express who you are, but you're having restrictions there, and Saturn's doing that for you guys to overcome. And the first thing that Saturn's teaching you is to have mental discipline, to not let these fears get you, to take you away from this. A lot of the time it's just mental blockages. So you have these fears and you have these anxieties, and Saturn's helping you overcome these, you know what I mean, to finally be able to just express yourself. No F's given. You're literally here to develop your communication skills and discipline your mind to allow you to reach this point, because your voice deserves to be heard, and no one's gonna look at you crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one, if they're giving a speech out or if somebody's like saying something, they're not it's not always going to be perfect. People mess up and you're learning that. And it's funny because you guys are going to be so creative and so intelligent. Like, you'll have a very structured, in-depth mentality. Like, you'll be very creative. So it's all of this bottling inside that you really want to get out, but you restrict yourself from getting it out. Sometimes it can come from insecurities, like you don't feel good enough to have your voice heard. Or you may, you know, create this like amazing art piece, but you don't want to share it with the world because you're like hard on yourself, like, I don't think it's good enough. Like, that's that type of energy. That's a Saturn energy in the 3rd house. It's like you just don't feel good enough. You're blocking yourself. You're like, no, they won't like it. They're not going to like that. And Saturn's helping you overcome that. You may be somebody that's quite quiet. You didn't speak a lot as a child. You may have been very quiet as a child, very timid. And Saturn really puts you in positions to help you get over this situation and really express your creativity to the world and who you are. Another thing before I end Saturn in the 3rd house is that with Saturn in the 3rd house, your education may be delayed. So maybe you guys didn't go to school much, or maybe there was like an issue with schooling. Maybe you guys just didn't go into school, you weren't interested in it, or it may just be that you guys had a hard time learning in school. Because Mercury rules the 3rd house and it's the planet of information as well as communication. So it may be like there's a bit of a confusion when it comes to information being brought to you, if that makes sense. Like, Saturn's restricting information from coming to you guys. So you may have been somebody that didn't have a lot of resources to learn as a child. It can manifest as that as well. But all in all, guys, you are learning to finally speak up and allow your creativity and your voice to be heard in the world. So that's all I have for Saturn in the 3rd house. I'm now going to move on to Saturn in the 4th house. Okay, so Saturn in the 4th house. Now, the 4th house rules home, family, feeling secure. So with that being said, with Saturn in the 4th house, this can indicate like you guys had maybe a dysfunctional home life or a very restrictive type of relationship with a parent or both parents. So because this is ruling home, it may mean that you had an absent parent. You may have had a father or a mother or both, like just not around in your home life as a child. You may have just had a bit of a chaotic or dysfunctional childhood, or it may just mean that in your childhood you lacked a lot of warmth and a lot of comfort, because the 4th house is ruled by the moon, which is the nurturer. So with that being restricted, you may have not had a very nurturing type of relationship with either parent, especially the mother. This can really manifest as the mother. The mother may have been very cold in your life, somebody that didn't share a lot of their emotions. This can really indicate that your childhood lacked a lot of nurturing and a lot of warmth. You didn't receive that as a child in some type of way. And it can also manifest like you guys did not have a lot of support growing up, because obviously the 4th house is all about security and home. So you guys may have not had a lot of support in anything that you did as a child. Maybe your parents worked a lot, so they weren't around to really give you, like, be your little cheerleaders or help you guys throughout your life. Like, they weren't really there. Maybe a parent was addicted to some type of vices, so they were never emotionally available for the child. This can really come through with Saturn in the 4th house. And you may have a father as well in this placement that was very absent, very cold, or just very like they could have been very ill, and you may have had to care for them and had your childhood kind of restricted because you had to care for a parent. Now, why is Saturn bringing these lessons to you? Saturn is bringing these lessons to you to help you stand on your own 2 feet, to find your inner security within yourself and not through other people. This particular placement has you become the mother and father to yourself, to become your own home and sanctuary. It's really a placement that helps you find your own way in the world. And the lesson here is just defining your own inner security in who you are. You may have lacked love from a particular parent, and instead of searching for it through other people, which you may end up doing in your earlier life, you're learning to search for it within yourself and give it to yourself. And it may also mean that you guys didn't have like comforts in childhood as well. So you guys may not have had a lot of money. You may have seen a lot of people around you have money, but you guys lacked that. You know, your parents may have worked, but just weren't able to give you a very comfortable upbringing that can manifest too. So I do find a lot of people with Saturn in this placement are a lot older before their years, because they had to kind of fend for themselves, or they had to kind of navigate their own way through life, so they had to become an adult before it really was their time to become one. So this makes a very responsible person, somebody who's very especially if you're working with Saturn, especially around like when you go through your Saturn return, you'll probably find yourself to be very self-sufficient, very confident in who you are, because that's what Saturn's creating you to be. So if you're somebody that didn't have a lot of money in your childhood, you are going to be somebody that is going to like strive for money and get that money as you get older, if you've worked with Saturn, you know what I mean? And as well with the independence like energy here, it may mean that for whatever reason you may grow distant from your family throughout your life and learn to be independent in that way. You just choose to navigate your own path and grow distant from certain family members. That's what I was trying to say. Mercury retrograde is just, you know the score. I have Gemini rising in sidereal astrology, so you can imagine like it messes up my speech. It really does. So as I was saying, with Saturn in the 4th house, it may also indicate that throughout your life you may have to care for your parent, like throughout your life, look after your parent. Your parent may have some type of disability or something like that, and you have to look after them or take them in and really like put a lot of your life on them, you know what I mean? Like have a portion of your life looking after them or caring for them. That can manifest as well. And you're really learning with this placement to be of service in some type of way to other people, you know what I mean? That's why it does indicate that you would have been of service to family members or even siblings, because you're learning to be of service to other people and you're going to want to help other people throughout life. But what Saturn is doing with these lessons is it's helping you become very self-sufficient, very self-confident in who you are, and somebody who goes out and gets and doesn't depend on anybody. Saturn is helping you guys depend on yourself and become self-reliant. So that is all I have for Saturn in the 4th house. I'm now going to move on to Saturn in the 5th house. Okay, so Saturn in the 5th house. Now the 5th house is all about creativity, right? And with Saturn being here, it's like your creativity will be restricted in some type of way. So by that I mean you guys are naturally going to be very creative, very artistic, because of either you just have that natural talent passed down to you guys, or you may have been bringing it in from your past lives. You may have been an artist or somebody like that in your past life, but in this life there's some restriction in regards to your art and your creativity in this lifetime. So you guys may have or want to move forward with these amazing creative endeavors that kind of go against the grain or are just a little bit different to other people, but you just find it hard to express. And by that I mean with this placement, especially with it like ruling Leo as well, it's like you're going to want, not in a bad way, but you guys are going to want cheerleaders, you know what I mean? You're going to want people that really clap for you, and when you put your creativity in front of them, you want people to get it and understand it and rejoice in it with you. But you'll find with this placement in Saturn, you're not going to receive a lot of support from people around you. Like people may not support your creativity. It may be so out there that people are just like, what is this? They don't get it. And that can cause you to have some type of insecurity in regards to your creativity and not even want to put it out, because it's like, oh my god, this person, like, they don't even get it, they don't even care. And it's like that can cause you to feel insecure within yourself, and it can knock your self-worth. It can also manifest like you may take yourself very, very seriously. You have all this creative passion inside of yourself, but it's like you may be taught like as a child, like I need to work like an office job, and I need to work like a 9 to 5, and I need to have a very restrictive, very productive job. But then all this creativity is brewing and you kind of like bat it away and you block the creativity from coming out. You won't express it in any type of way. You may be too frightened to wear what you want to wear or showcase what it is that you want to showcase, because it's like you just don't feel comfortable in it because you feel like people aren't going to understand it. So you may have a lot of like cool clothing that you want to wear, or have like an idea of how you want to express yourself. You may want to dye your hair pink, dye your hair turquoise, but it's like you'll block yourself from doing it because it's like, what will they think? People aren't going to accept this. And it's like you want acceptance from other people, but it's like you fear that you're not going to get it, or maybe you just don't get it when you do showcase your creativity. So what you're really dealing with here is insecurities within yourself. You want people to get you, you want people to understand and rejoice with you, but then they don't, and then you doubt yourself. So you're learning to really embrace your creativity, step out in who you are, wearing what you want, doing what you want, expressing who you are in every color. and not caring what people think and not needing people to be around you to be like, wow. No, Saturn is teaching you guys to embrace all that beautiful creativity within you, be confident in it because it's you, and not care what anyone says. You're literally learning to work on who you are and letting it shine. Remember that the 5th house is ruled by Leo. Like, you naturally want to shine and you naturally can. You have that energy, but you're learning to actually be confident and believe that within yourself. Another thing that Saturn's really helping you do here is really have a good work ethic when it comes to put in your creative endeavors like out there. So it's like you may have all this creativity but maybe no discipline, and Saturn's helping you put discipline into your creative projects to actually get it out there and shine with them. Because real creativity, it takes discipline. Saturn helps you take form of these ideas and put them out there into the physical if you really put in the work. So that is all I have for Saturn in the 5th house. I'm now going to move on to Saturn in the 6th house. Okay, so Saturn in the 6th house. Now, with Saturn in the 6th house is all about routines and discipline and hard work. So with your Saturn being here, you are going to be somebody that is like, this can manifest as a workaholic. You are somebody that is really hard on yourself when it comes to work. You take work extremely seriously. And you guys are going to be an extremely good worker. You're going to be disciplined. Like I said, you may be a workaholic. You're going to be somebody that takes on a lot of responsibility because that's just in your nature. But the thing is that you can take on a lot of this energy and then you feel stuck, you feel tied down, you feel weighed down. It doesn't bring you any happiness. You want to take on all this responsibility, but then you take on too much. That is an energy of Saturn in the 6th house. Energy of routines being taken to the extreme. With this being in your natal chart, this is something that's going to have a lot of effect on you guys. You are going to be somebody that needs everything to be in order, needs everything to be done right there and then, and you take on all that responsibility. And it's funny because you guys are going to be very determined, very strong, very hardworking, but it's just like the 6th house isn't just about work and routines, it's also about health. So with that being said, you've really got to be careful with Saturn being in the 6th house that you don't stress out too much, because this can cause some type of illness that can come as a result of you guys just working yourself to the brim and not really taking care of your body and of yourself, because you're just working yourself like a machine. And Saturn's really teaching you guys to be able to balance that and take care of who you are and take care of your health. Another thing that's being restricted here is you may have a restriction of taking risks. You want everything done. It's like you don't want people to take risks with what it is that they're doing. For example, I'm somebody who takes a lot of risks. I take a lot of risks in my life. I have jumped from jobs when I knew there was nothing else there because Spirit told me to. Like, I'm that person, you know what I mean? That is me. But for example, my grandmother has Saturn in the 6th house, and my grandmother was like the one person that was like, don't, you can't, you need another job to back you up. No. And she, like, her, obviously that's her energy and her fears like projecting onto me, and I'm so rebellious. I have an Aquarius telling me, I was like, no, Spirit told me to do this and I'm gonna do it. And she's like, no, because she doesn't like risks. And that is Saturn in the 6th house. They don't like risks. They don't like that. They like to have everything in order and make sure that they're working hard. This is a very responsible placement, but it's like it does sometimes hold you back because you're not taking these risks in life that sometimes are needed. You will worry about work a lot. Like, you may be the type of person to be in bed at night like worrying like, right, tomorrow I've got to do this, and then I've got to do this, and then this is going to happen, and then I've got to do this, or like worrying about what your boss might say, working really hard to please your boss and please the people around you, making sure that everybody's happy, bending over backwards in jobs. But the thing is that with Saturn being in the 6th house, it's like you work, and you don't usually get the recognition. You know what I mean? You could have somebody next to you that puts in half the effort and then gets a promotion, and you're working your like a little butt off and you don't get the promotion. Like, that can sometimes happen with Saturn in the 6th house, and it's happening for you guys to realize that it's okay to like take time for yourself. You don't have to stress and push yourself too much. So you may find with this placement, like, you'll always think of other people and not yourself. You're always working to keep other people happy, working to keep everything intact, but you're not really turning that energy inward. And Saturn's really teaching you to do that, because like I said, you need to be careful with your health with this particular Saturn placement. So like I said, like, people around you may get like promotions and then you don't. you continue just like putting in hard work but making sure it's balanced and that you're not sacrificing yourself. And usually around like your Saturn return, which usually comes in around when you're like 28, 29, around that time, that is when you may see a lot of results of your hard work from before. So you may come into some money, you may get your promotions, then you may get a lot of like, you may get a lot of attraction towards a particular business that you might have been working on. Usually with your Saturn return, whatever it is that you've been working hard on, you will have it kind of paid back to you if you've really worked on it. So just make sure that you're balancing your energy and you're not sacrificing yourself. And I actually personally find that Saturn in the 6th house is a really good placement, because Saturn rewards hard work and you are probably the hardest workers of them all. So this is a good placement for you. So this is like a good placement, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think it's as bad as some of the other ones could be. I don't think any of them are bad, but I just feel like this would probably be, it means there may be a lot of work for you in this lifetime, but you're gonna get rewarded for it, you know what I mean? Because you're doing exactly what Saturn wants you to be doing, you know? But you guys are just learning to have a break now and then and really make sure that you're taking care of your health first, and maybe establish some healthy routines instead of routines that may be working you to the brim. So that is all I have for Saturn in the 6th house. I'm now going to move on to Saturn in the 7th house. Okay, so Saturn in the 7th house. Now, the 7th house rules relationships, it rules friendships, and it also rules like hidden enemies as well. But with that being said, when it's ruling your relationships and your friendships, you may be somebody that's come into this life from like past lives with a lot of relationship baggage, emotional baggage attached to relationships. So with that being said, you guys, you may in your earlier life have a lot of karmic relationships. You'll have a lot of karma in love that you are working on. You may be in a relationship like that's like an empath narcissist. You may be in a relationship where you're learning about your self-worth, your self-confidence. Type of issues like that can manifest with Saturn in the 7th house in the natal chart, because you're really learning. There's a lot of restrictions in regards to your heart and your love and what true love and relationships really are, and Saturn is helping you build on that throughout your life to help you guys work on that and really find that meaning of love. I would say for this particular placement, it's usually for this particular placement than any of the others, you don't really want to get married before your Saturn return. Your Saturn return comes around like when you're like 28, 29. Yeah, you don't want to, obviously if you're married, cool, but I feel like as an astrologer, I do have to say to you guys, like, maybe be careful about marrying before you're 27, 28, because you guys are going to have a lot of lessons in regards to love, a lot of lessons in regards to relationships, and you will have a lot of karmic relationships, or just relationships that are teaching you a lot about yourself and what true love really is. So this can also manifest like you may have fear of commitment, fear of abandonment. You may fear even committing to people throughout that time. You may have a lot of open relationships, polyamorous relationships, or just not really be fussed on relationships at all because you fear rejection, and that's something that you're learning to overcome. Or it could be that you're learning self-validation through other people and then you're learning to look inward. It can manifest in different ways, but you will have a lot of relationships where you're learning before your Saturn return, or sometimes maybe after. So you may even find that you suffer false starts in regards to relationships as well. Like a relationship could be going very well, you think it's going really well, you may be on cloud 9, and then all of a sudden it just breaks down, or you just suffer a lot of disappointments in regards to that, and you're learning to really learn the lesson of like heartbreak and love and picking yourself back up and you being your own true love. Also with Saturn being in the 7th house, you may marry somebody that's older than you. You may marry somebody that's a lot more responsible. Like you may marry somebody very responsible, somebody who has a kind of empire of their own, or has very like dad like tendencies, like looks after you, or very businessy. They may even be quite cold emotionally, but that may be somebody that you end up marrying, like a type of energy like that can be indicated with your 7th house being in Saturn. So this kind of is the placement where you will find the like love of your life, like later on after your Saturn return, later on in life, once you've learned all of these energies towards love. So you may find that you get married later on in your life, or find love later on. Now just remember guys, astrology is just kind of like a little map, like it's a tool at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't, if you guys have found the love of your life, great for you. Like I like to say about tarot and astrology, don't let them rule you. Use them as a tool. use them, but don't let them use you. You know what I mean? So if you guys feel like you found the love of your life, don't be discouraged at all. But this is just the energy of the 7th house being in Saturn. What you're really doing with this placement is resolving a lot of karmic patterns, healing yourself on a subconscious level, healing subconscious wounds that you may not even realize you have. But the thing is that when you get your Saturn return, or like a little later in life, when you do find like that one, it's going to be like a very good relationship. You'll probably last like the whole hog. You know what I mean? You'll really find like the one. You'll find like the ultimate partner. But sometimes this can also manifest as you may end up with a partner that may be less emotional, more practical. That can usually come through here. But all in all, what Saturn's really teaching you to do is learn about relationships and heal yourself from relationships and love, heal subconscious wounds in regards to your heart before you meet the person that you're supposed to be with. And that is Saturn in the 7th house. So I am now going to move on to Saturn in the 8th house. Okay, so Saturn in the 8th house. Now, the 8th house is actually ruled by Pluto. And Pluto is the planet that rules transformations. It rules sex. It rules psychic abilities. It rules emotions. And it rules like other people's finances, other people's money. So with that being said, first off, you could be somebody that is actually born with psychic gifts. You could be somebody that is born with empathic gifts or gifts where you can see beyond the physical, but there is a restriction here. So you may feel scared about your psychic gifts. You may shun them and keep them in rather than express them to the world. And this comes from like fear of the unknown. Because this particular placement really does bring in this fear of the unknown, what you don't have control of, what you don't know. There is a fear there because the 8th house is all about the unknown. It's what we don't see. So having Saturn here, it's like you're worried or frightened about things that you can't really put into context. So like I said, it's not just psychic gifts that you may be a little bit worried about or like shun. It may just be your own emotions. You may be somebody that has a lot of deep emotions. With the 8th house here, you will probably have a lot of deep emotions, a lot of deep feelings, but you will shun them. You won't talk about them. You'll fear going too deep. And the 8th house is all about depth, and you'll fear that. You'll fear going too deep. You won't want to get too deep. You won't want to address what's really going on under the surface. This can also manifest as you may be shying away from intimate relationships. You don't want to express your emotions, so you may shy away from relationships and being intimate with people just out of that fear of intimacy, not having control of the situation. Now, being scared of intimacy, being scared of emotions, being scared of psychic gifts, what is that? What is that? You're fearing something. What is it that you're fearing? Well, with the Saturn being in the 8th house, the 8th house is all about the unknown. But what is it? To get to the unknown, to get into psychic gifts, to like realize your emotions and actually express them, what do you have to do to unlock that? You have to surrender. What is Pluto? The transformational phoenix that rises from the ashes. How does the phoenix rise from the ashes? It surrenders to the process. So what you're learning with Saturn in the 8th house is to surrender to your fears, surrender to the unknown, surrender to psychic gifts, surrender to being intimate, surrender to your emotions, surrender to who you are as a person. You are learning that. You may be somebody that's completely scared of change, completely scared of new beginnings, completely scared of starting anew, completely scared of this new endeavor or these deep emotions that you have. And Saturn's going to make sure that you're going through these situations to overcome your fear. Because like I always say, when the universe wants you to do something and you decide you're not going to do it, the universe will make sure it's done anyway. So you may as well just surrender. And that's the energy that's coming through with Saturn here. It's teaching you to surrender to your fears and the unknown. To transform from anything, you have to surrender. You know what I mean? For the caterpillar to become a butterfly, it has to surrender. It had to give up its little caterpillar body to become the butterfly. You know what I mean? You have to surrender to transform and be the best version of yourself. And the more you transform, the more better you become. You know what I mean? So this is quite funny with this placement. You guys may, because you may have psychic abilities, and this is about like the realm of like secrecy and things like that, you guys may be quite psychic. You may end up going through dark night of the soul. But the thing is we all know, going through dark night of the soul, what is the one thing that you have to do? You have to surrender. So the universe is going to put you through these energies to make sure that you surrender to these new versions of you, these new versions of thinking. To be intimate, you have to let go of fear. To express emotions, you have to let go of fear. And that is what Saturn is turning you into. They're turning you into a warrior who doesn't have fear of anything. Saturn's going to be throwing you experiences. I don't know why I'm doing this, but this is how I imagine it. Saturn is throwing experiences at you to make sure that you transform. So you may be somebody that go through a lot of breaking downs to build yourself back up, breaking downs to building yourself back up. You may find that you go through that a lot in this lifetime. So it's like you're fearing change, you're fearing the new, you're fearing that. So Saturn makes sure that's exactly what's happening so you can get over the fear. You know what I mean? That is what Saturn's doing for you. It's being cruel to be kind, because really you're holding yourself back if you're not transforming. You don't want to stay a caterpillar for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? So that's what Saturn's doing for you, helping you have no fear, not fear the depth of who you are, not fear the depth of change, not fear the depth of, you know, the spirit world and being psychic, if that is something that you guys may be dealing with. That won't be for all of you, the psychic part, but it may be for some of you guys. You may be fearing it, and Saturn's causing you to open up to it and just surrender. So that's all I have for Saturn in the 8th house. I'm gonna now move on to Saturn in the 9th house. Okay, so Saturn in the 9th house. I do want to apologize if there's like a ring light in my glasses, guys. I have my ring light in front of me and I was doing the video without my glasses on, but it's giving me migraines, so I had to put my glasses on. So apologies if you can't see my eyeballs, but I need to see. You know what I mean? So let's get into it. So Saturn in the 9th house. Now the 9th house is ruled by Jupiter, and it's all about expansion. And it always brings this happy-go-lucky, connected to spirit type of energy. So with Saturn being here, you may have had restrictions in regards to travel, in regards to connecting with source, in regards to feeling fulfilled within yourself. And by that I mean you may have had a very strict upbringing. You may have been somebody that had a very strict, like, religious upbringing. You may have conformed to one religion, or you may have just been somebody that was kind of brought up atheist and we don't believe in anything, or just been very restricted as a child, like you couldn't go anywhere. And you have this yearning to kind of break those chains. You have this yearning to go on a quest of what is life. You know what I mean? What is life? I like to think of like Saturn being in the 9th house is like you're on a quest in life, but you're on a quest of like spirituality and finding your own spirituality and what the meaning of life truly is. Like I said, you may have been like conforming to one religion, or you may have been somebody that was just atheist, or somebody that was told to believe one type of version of like what life is, and you weren't allowed to really be your own self as a child. You may have been somebody who was just in a very restrictive type of like family, like household, where you had to kind of like hold your emotions in, be a certain way, dress a certain way. You may be from like a small town where everyone acts the same way, and you may have just felt very restricted within this. And what you're actually learning with this is finding your own way through life and finding your own meaning of what life is for you as an individual, and really learning to make your own judgments instead of just like listening to what people around you tell you what something is, making your own judgments in this particular lifetime. And it may be that you just like it may be that you guys just restrict your own mind. So you may be somebody that doesn't believe in taking risks. You may be somebody that will not believe anything until there's like concrete 3D facts in front of you. You may have that type of energy. So you may find that it manifests that you close your mind to the unknown. And it may be that you guys are being restricted from being able to travel. You guys may want to like see the world, see more of like cultures and people and countries, but it's like you may be restricted in some type of way. Maybe you guys just don't have enough funds, or you just don't like maybe believe in yourself to really go out there. And have I got a mark on my wall? Oh no, it's the camera. Oh my god, guys, I literally just thought I had a mark on my wall, but it's on my camera. I was just like, ah. Nah, yeah, it's the camera, definitely. Sorry, I apologize for that. I just thought I had a mark on my wall. Yeah, so Saturn in the 9th house, you guys may not go and travel and go and do these things. You may feel restricted in some type of way. You can't, because you have to look after somebody. You have to look after a parent. You have to look after siblings, or you have to look after a child. Like, you're not able to go out and see the world. There's some type of restriction here of like having new experiences or having like a new type of mentality, because Jupiter on its own, not Jupiter, because the ninth house on its own, like Sagittarius on its own, is a very expansive type of energy, a very happy-go-lucky energy. They love to travel and see new experiences, and they're open to everything. So with Saturn being here, it's like you're closed off in some type of way. So what is Saturn teaching you here? Saturn is teaching you guys to spread your own wings and kind of create this quest of what life is. Really dive into the meaning of what life is, because you are going to be somebody that craves something deeper out of life. You are going to be somebody that craves like what the meaning of life really is. Why are we here? You're going to want something a lot deeper, and you're learning to not allow other people's opinions or restrictions around you to change your mindset into life as like a concrete 3D kind of abstract. You're kind of like learning to see life in a more expansive way. That's what Saturn's teaching you guys to do. So in this lifetime, what Saturn's really doing is restricting you from being able to really find your own sense of life, if that makes sense, to then go out and find it yourself. Be the pioneer of your own life. Be, you know, this traveler. Be somebody that expands their mind. Saturn is really having you restricted in the earlier parts of your life so that you guys can really have that drive to go and find that as you get older. So that is all I have for Saturn in the 9th house. I'm now going to move on to Saturn in the 10th house. Okay, so Saturn in the 10th house. Now, some people say that Saturn in the 10th house is like a hard placement. I personally do not believe it is, because I have Saturn in the 10th house and I don't think it's a hard placement at all. So don't let anyone scare you saying Saturn in the 10th house is a bad placement, because for one, Saturn is in its right place in the 10th house. Like the 10th house like rules Saturn, so it's in the right place. But what Saturn is having you do in this particular lifetime, with it being in the 10th house, is really learn mastery, spiritual mastery in what it is that you can achieve in this lifetime. For example, you could be somebody that comes into this life with less than everybody else. You could look to the right and people have, you know, all this money to kind of attain what they want, or they kind of have head starts, and you're like the one with just like little old me, like just yourself, like in the race. But there's people next to you with like their like fine swords, like that, you know, all their riches around them, so they all have these head starts, and you're just there with like little old me, like okay. And usually in earlier life, you guys may have some hurdles to overcome, whether it's to do with finances, family matters, anything really that can stop you guys from being abundant. It may be put in front of you in earlier life. You may be somebody that had to care for family in your earlier life. You may be somebody that had to go through a lot of, you know, bad experiences in earlier life. You may have been somebody that just came out of poverty in your earlier life. Or you may just find that there's always a hurdle. You climb a mountain and then there's another mountain and you're like, oh my god, I'm tired, I don't want to climb another mountain. But you've got to go climb that other mountain because you know it's going to take you to success. So what is that doing if you are continuously having to climb a mountain? It's building your resilience, and that's exactly what Saturn is having you guys do in this lifetime. You guys are learning resilience, hard work, working your way to the top, because you don't have what they have, and you don't have what they have, and you don't have what they have. But what you do have is power and strength within yourself, and you're learning to attain that and work your way to the top. Because let me tell you, with Saturn in this placement, I'm going to say this, with Saturn in the 10th house, you may have all odds against you. You know, all odds against you. And people may think, oh, well, they're not going to do this and they're not going to do that. They have all odds against you. But what Saturn makes of you in this particular house is a hard worker. So come your Saturn return, when you reach like 28, 29, when you have your Saturn return, you work hard and you put in that energy that Saturn is helping you do. You're going to have blessings tenfold, because Saturn in the 10th house is an energy of somebody who leaves behind a legacy, somebody who leaves behind a business or something that people can enjoy before their time. That is Saturn in the 10th house. So you guys are learning to build a legacy for yourself, and really be somebody that is known for your hard work in this lifetime. But to get to that point, you have to work hard, and you learn that through your life lessons. Of maybe having to care for people, of having these hurdles. You're learning that in this lifetime. And as long as you're working, as long as you're putting in that work, you're going to be people that are destined for success in this lifetime. Because what you're really achieving here is mastery of self. I can do anything I put my mind to. I came out of the dark and brought myself to the light. I came out of poverty and made myself wealthy. I had all odds against me, and look what I turned it into. You're learning self-mastery here, and you're learning to reach success on your own terms. You're learning that discipline is key. You're learning to be disciplined within yourself. may have been somebody that had a lot of things put on them in childhood, and you're learning that the only person that's going to get you to success is you, and you're really learning to put that discipline in to reach that success, and you will do that as long as you work with Saturn in this lifetime. So that is all I have for Saturn in the 10th house. I am now going to move on to Saturn in the 11th house. Okay, so with Saturn in the 11th house, the 11th house not only rules like technology and like humanitarian energies and, you know, all that jazz. What the 11th house actually rules as well is friendships, community, other people. With Saturn being in the 11th house, this may restrict your ability to relate to other people, to be a part of the world that you really want to be a part of. And by that I mean, with Aquarius ruling the 11th house and Saturn being there, it's like you will have maybe some lone wolf mentality. You may find it hard to make friends. You may just find it really hard to be around people. You don't understand people. There's a sense of feeling like an alien to the world around you with Saturn in the 11th house. You feel like you don't fit in. What you have to offer is so different to other people. You may be somebody that's very creative and you have all these creative endeavors, but you may have all these creative endeavors, but like people may not get it and they'd be doing something else. Whatever the norm are doing, whatever everybody else is doing, it's like you always seem to be going the other way, and then you just feel very alienated to people. You're like, well, I don't get this. You know what I mean? I don't get it. You might find that you don't really understand people very well, and it's like you have that humanitarian flair. So you want to be a part of something. You want to be around people. You want to you know, be a part of something and be around people and have friends, but it's just like you don't get it. Or it might just be that people don't get you. You may be so different that people don't get you, so you shun yourself away. You may have a lot of like cool outfits that you wear, or just have this type of pathway that you go down, and people are just like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? And you're just like, okay, I just want to be a lone wolf then. Like you just feel a little bit alien to other people. You always feel like you stand out. Like I said, it's so funny because like you're so for people. You have this humanitarian energy. You want to be a part of a community, but it's just like you don't get it. But this is the thing. What is Saturn teaching you here? To not dumb yourself down or take away your eccentric energy and attitude to fit in with a bunch of people. You are learning that not only do you have extreme leadership skills and extreme innovative skills, like you're an innovator. You're here to create things that other people don't do. You're here to walk your own path. You're learning here to walk your own path. You don't fit in with that community? Cool, I'll start my own then. We'll start my own community. And all of a sudden you start bringing in like-minded people. All of a sudden you start bringing in people that get you. Why? Because you listened to that energy and you were true to the original state of who you are, and you didn't suppress yourself to fit in or be part of something. You took the high road, you took the road less traveled, and you created something out of the dust with your true originality. And now all of a sudden people want to look like you, people want to be like you. That is what you're learning with Saturn in the 11th house, to really trust that you are this true original, you are this pioneer, you are this innovator. You're not an alien. You're here. Do you know that saying, the reason that you don't fit in is because you were born to stand out? That is the saying that I would put with Saturn in the 11th house. You may feel alienated throughout your life. You may try to conform. You may feel like, you know, I don't fit in here. But you're learning to be like, no, you know what? I like to dress like this. I like to do these things. I have this pathway. I have this idea and I'm going to walk with it. And if nobody gets it, nobody will get it. But when I become successful, then people will get it. Do you think that when you look at like Ariana Grande, like she has these ponytails, she has like a trademark energy. Was anyone really doing that before her? Maybe they were. I don't know. Maybe she got it from somebody else. But I'm just saying, do you see how many people want to be like Ariana Grande? Ariana Grande is just being that her authentic self. You look at somebody like Nicki Minaj is her authentic self, and then people like step towards her. I'm just like naming random people, guys, but you know, like Billie Eilish, there's all these like pop singers out here like being all cute. Billie Eilish comes out, she dresses the way that she does with her hair and her clothes. All of a sudden people want to dress and look like Billie Eilish. Why? Because she's an original. That is what you're here to do. You're here to be that original because people will be looking up to you. You're not meant to be trying to conform and fit in. That's what Saturn's teaching you. Instead of conforming, Saturn's pushing you to be the innovator, to realize that you are the key. You are somebody that's here to be your own self. You know what I mean? You're not an alien, you're just a leader. You're really going to be overcoming like social awkwardness and isolation and just being very confident in who you are. You may find that you isolate yourself and you're learning to just be who you are. You know what I mean? So really what Saturn's making it of you is a leader, somebody who's a true original and is not afraid to share their ideas and their thoughts with the world, because you are visionaries. So that is all I have for Saturn in the 11th house. I'm now going to move on to the final house, Saturn in the 12th. So finally, with Saturn in the 12th house, now the 12th house is ruled by Neptune and Pisces. So with Saturn being here, you guys are going to be people that are probably very empathic, people that are very connected with spirit, or just very much people that care for people. You know what I mean? You're going to be people that care for people and care for like worldly views and spirituality, and you may be like quite a humanitarian. But with that energy and Saturn being here, you may have a lot of self-doubt about who you are and the decisions that you make in this particular lifetime. You may find in this lifetime like you put a lot of responsibility into other people's hands. You may even shy away from responsibility in this lifetime to maybe live in dream world, or just kind of like avoid it, to put the rose tinted glasses on. That's the type of energy with Saturn in the 12th house. You may have had childhood wounds where you were somebody in your childhood that had to be the responsible one, had to look after people. You may have seen a lot of, you know, things that you didn't want to see in your childhood, or just like you may have had just like a lot of responsibility put on you. And with that being said, you guys kind of like learn through life, like, or you at least through that energy then decide through life that you want to help people, because you've been that responsible person. You've kind of maybe learned in your earlier life to sacrifice yourself for other people. So you may go about life sacrificing yourself for other people, trying to heal other people, help other people, without thinking of yourself first. Because like I said, this is a humanitarian energy. This is a very empathic energy. You want to help people, you want to heal people. So you may find that you try to please others and make other people happy, but that's at a cost of maybe sacrificing who you are and yourself and your boundaries. And then with that being said, you can then end up getting taken advantage of. People might just take advantage of you or use you or not really appreciate the person that you are. So what Saturn really is teaching you guys to do with these experiences of maybe being taken advantage of, or people putting a lot of their responsibilities on you, you probably will find a point where you're like, you know what, enough is enough. Because Saturn is teaching you through these experiences to be like, you know what, I need to put in boundaries. I need to put energy into myself and my health and who I am. That is what Saturn is teaching you. You have great healing abilities. You have great psychic abilities. You have great empathic abilities, but you need to make sure that you are grounded and connected to yourself and filling up your own cup before you put in that energy to other people. And that is what Saturn is teaching you. Now, another thing that Saturn is teaching you, because the 12th house is kind of like an illusion type of energy, like it's to do with like illusions and dreaming. With that being said, you guys, with this energy, you may be somebody because of maybe traumatic experiences as a child or something like that. You may be somebody that lives in your head a lot, lives in dream world a lot. And what Saturn is really teaching you to do in this lifetime is get out of your head and bring things into concrete. Because you may be somebody that gets caught up in fantasies, especially in regards to relationships. You may get caught up in fantasies of who the person is. Like you may create who they are but not really see them for who they truly are. You know what I mean? And Saturn's really calling you to have that discernment and bring you back down into earth, into your grounded energies. That is what Saturn is doing for you in this lifetime, so that you can use these amazing abilities of healing and helping people, but make sure that they're rooted and grounded and that you're taking care of yourself first. So what you're really learning with Saturn in the 12th house is to take control of your own life, be in charge of your own life, and not let other people or life just kind of like take you for a ride or take you down this stream where you're just floating. You're in charge. You're learning to be in charge of your life with this placement. And so that is all I have for you guys today. I really hope that you enjoyed. Comment down below what house your Saturn is in and let me know what your experiences have been with that house. I'm sending you guys lots of love. Thank you for watching my video. Hit a thumbs up if you did enjoy, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, if you wanna. So I hope you guys have a great day. I'll be back on Monday with more content. I'm sending you guys lots of love, and I'll see you guys soon.